Assalamu alaikum. 6 p.m. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Kanus Ashraf. First, the headlines. Prime Minister says the government is devising policies for the benefit of common man. Finance Minister speaking at 100-day performing ceremony said economic direction has been set up and work completed to bring institutional reforms and increase tax collection. Federal Cabinet has decided to separate tax policy from revenue administration in line with PTI's manifesto. In occupied Kashmir, Indian troops in their fresh act of state terrorism martyred 2 more Kashmiri youth in Pulwama district today. Afghan National Security Advisor has urged Taliban to come forward and play a constructive role for peace process in Afghanistan. United Nations Security Council has reiterated call for resumption of Israel-Palestine peace negotiations at the earliest. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan says the government is devising policies for the benefit of common man. Addressing the ceremony of achievement in 100 days of PTI government in Islamabad today, he said good intentions reap good results and the government is sincere to bring real change in the lives of the people. The Prime Minister said compassion and justice makes a society of humans from animals. He said the employment opportunities are being created to improve the living conditions and standards of life for poor people. Addressing the ceremony, Finance Minister Asad Umar said economic direction has been set during the first 100 days of the incumbent government. He said there was a deficit of 2,300 billion rupees in budget when we assumed power. The average deficit was $2 billion per month in 3 months prior to PTI coming to power, and dedicated efforts were made to reduce it to a slightly over $1 billion per month. He said different steps helped improve the situation of balance of payments. The finance minister said any agreement with IMF will be made keeping in view the interest of the people of Pakistan, and unlike the previous governments, we will not hide behind IMF. Speaking at the ceremony, advisor to Prime Minister on establishment Arbab Shehzad said revolutionary steps are taken to change the working culture of the government during this small period. He said 18 out of 34 projects were completed while work continues on rest of the projects. He said an asset recovery unit was established that detected properties worth $11 billion abroad, and notices were issued to thousands of persons who are not tax filers. Arbab Shehzad said focus was laid on bringing reforms in FPR as part of improving the tax machinery. Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued a report of its key achievements in first 100 days of the PTI government. According to report, a policy based on Pakistan's preferences has been declared part of the manifesto. For this purpose, reforms were introduced to strengthen the Foreign Office. A peaceful relation with eastern and western neighbors is also part of this policy. Efforts to stop Islamophobia, a resolution of Jammu and Kashmir dispute, and peace in Afghanistan are also part of the policy. It has been decided that political and economic diplomacy will be pursued for improvement of economy. The Federal Cabinet has decided to separate tax policy from revenue administration in line with the manifesto of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. The cabinet, which met in Islamabad today with Prime Minister Imran Khan in the chair, also constituted a committee to work out legal and technical modalities in this connection. The cabinet reiterated maintaining strict fiscal discipline in the country for the purpose of curtailing fiscal deficit and ensuring that the expenditures and revenue remain within the budgeted estimates. The Cabinet approved reconstitution of Search Committee for appointment to the post of Vice-Chancellor Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Medical University, Islamabad. The committee would be headed by Minister for Human Rights Shireen Mazari. The Cabinet also approved appointment of Aila Majid, Ghaisuddin Ahmed and Hamid Ali Khan as independent directors of Central Power Purchasing Agency Guarantee Limited. The Cabinet approved release of 20 billion rupees in financial year 2018-19 for the fencing and lightning project of Pak-Afghan border. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has said groundbreaking of Kartarpur corridor reflects Pakistan's desire for peace in the region. In an interview with BBC Urdu, he said, "We took this initiative without any outside pressure as Prime Minister Imran Khan is a strong believer in peace." This is Radio Pakistan. In occupied Kashmir, Indian troops and their fresh act of state terrorism martyred 2 more Kashmiri youth in Pulwama district today, raising the toll to 25 in the past 7 days. The youth, identified as Adil Ahmed and Adnan Ahmed, were martyred during a cordon and search operation in Avantipura area of the district. The killing led to complete shutdown in Chattargam, Supur, Avantipura and Malangpur areas. Internet services were suspended while higher secondary schools and colleges remained closed. Thousands of people participated in multiple rounds of funerals held for Adnan and Adil in Pulwama and third youth Mirajuddin in Supur area of Baramulla district today. Meanwhile, complete shutdown was observed today in poll-bound areas on the occasion of 5th phase of Shami Panchayat elections. Call for the strike was given by joint resistance leadership comprising Sayyid Ali Gilani, Mirwaiz Umar Farooq and Muhammad Yasin Malik. The Afghan National Security Advisor urging Taliban to come forward and play a constructive role. Speaking at a press conference in Geneva, National Security Advisor of Afghanistan, Hamidullah Mohib, has called and is now in Taliban's court. Earlier, a communique issued at the end of the conference called on all concerned to seize this opportunity for an end to conflict. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged need for end to war in Yemen. Speaking at the news briefing in New York, he said nearly 14 million people are on the brink of starvation. Guterres said, "We are at a very crucial moment in relation to Yemen, and if we are able to stop Yemeni war, we will be stopping most tragic humanitarian disaster facing in today's world." United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Chief Mark Lowcock has called for a ceasefire between Yemen's warring camps, especially in western Al-Hudaybiyah province. At a press briefing given to reporters upon his arrival at Sana's International Airport, he said, "We want to see a ceasefire which is necessary for the movement of aid supplies." UN envoy on Syria Staffan de Mistura says that there has been no tangible progress at talks in Kazakhstan towards a new Syrian constitution. In a statement, Mistura said meeting in Astana was a missed opportunity to accelerate establishment of a credible UN-facilitated constitutional committee. The statement said grinding civil war has killed more than 360,000 people and displaced millions. Israeli security forces have detained 10 Palestinian people in an overnight raid in the West Bank. Israel occupied the West Bank in the 1967 Middle East War and has since controlled the area despite international criticism. United Nations Security Council has reiterated call for a resumption of Israeli-Palestinian peace negotiations as soon as possible. This was stated by President of United Nations Security Council for November, Mazu, while addressing a special commemorative meeting in observance of International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people at the United Nations. He, who is also China's permanent representative to the United Nations, said Council members condemn all violence and hostilities directed against civilians and all acts of terrorism. And finally, the weather report. Mainly cold and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country during the next 24 hours. To end the news headlines once again. Prime Minister says the government is devising policies for the benefit of common man. Finance Minister speaking at 100-day performance ceremony said economic direction has been set and work completed to bring institutional reforms and increase tax collection. Federal Cabinet has decided to separate tax policy from revenue administration in line with PTI's manifesto. In occupied Kashmir, Indian troops and their fresh act of state terrorism martyred 2 more Kashmiri youth in Pulwama district today. Afghan National Security Advisor has urged Taliban to come forward and play a constructive role for peace process in Afghanistan. United Nations Security Council has reiterated call for resumption of Israel-Palestine peace negotiations at the earliest. And that is the end of the news. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com Radio Pakistan News Official.